Hey, rock chicks and rock gents, welcome to a bit of a new show, really. Elderescence TV has gone live, and I don't think there's many videos up at the moment. So we've closed down all our YouTube, which is really just the weirdest kind of feeling I've ever experienced, because I've had a YouTube channel for about 14 years, and suddenly there's nothing, there's no movement, because you kind of think, oh, I'm only getting 1,000 views a day or whatever. It's not really enough, to feed a sparrow. I mean, I've never earned revenue from YouTube, ever. That's a really interesting thing about it. Even when I had 1 million views, I still didn't get any revenue. So it's this sort of myth, but it does feel like you're really interacting with humanity. And I've had one day of, no output. Well, actually, I've published a book, but, no output in terms of this kind of immediate thing. You get the thing with things like YouTube and Twitter and all of these places, you get an immediate reaction. You don't really have to wait very long. I mean, sometimes you have to wait like 24 hours or something, but generally speaking, almost immediately you've got people there, seeing. Now, the fact that, of the million odd views that I was getting, it was about 30,000 a day plus on my Toddle Poddle channel. If you look at the figures, they're not actually views. They're, people click on it, and then I think they just copy it or something. I don't know what they're doing, or they embed it in their own sites. And I think that's where I was getting a lot of this traction, and most of it was in India. And, there's still this psychology that the algorithm exploits all the time, where humans think, any attention is good attention, even if it's a millisecond long, and that's why they tell you you've got loads of views, and they send you to YouTube are, ghastly, because they send you congratulations. Well, actually, Facebook do it as well. Well done, your reel got loads of and it makes you feel worthy as a human being. But actually, it's just rubbish. It's rubbish. You haven't impressed anyone, or you can't tell if you've impressed anyone. You haven't. You've impressed the algorithm. That's it. You've impressed a machine, and we really need to learn, I think, that that's stupid of us to be flattered that you impressed a machine. I mean, how ridiculous is that? It's like, looking at your Hoover and saying, do I look nice today? And your Hoover responding with a pre-recorded message which says, yeah, you look great today. It's the absurdity of it. I mean, it just doesn't make sense, does it? But I am reeling from it today, because I normally wake up and I check all my stats first thing in the mornings. And I obviously, there's no point in looking at my stats. I did look at my stats on my podcast, and they plummeted as well, because my podcast was, irreversibly linked to, well, it was irreversible, actually, because once you link your podcasts to YouTube, the only way to unlink them is to actually delete all of the previous podcasts. It just takes so long. Individual episodes. They do this thing where, you can delete the podcast, but all the previous podcasts are there. So you have to go and find them all, and they're impossible to find unless you've called them all a podcast, which you probably didn't. So you have to delete them one by one. So, I have thousands, and there was no way I was going to sift through that. So the only way to do it was just to delete everything, really. So, they do all these snide ways of kind of catching your content. They're like content traps. So you're laboriously working for Facebook, if it's Reels, or Instagram, or YouTube, and you're getting absolutely nothing out of it other than the machine says to you, well done, congratulations. So this, I'm, trying to get my head around it today and think, well, as somebody with an independent TV channel now, because that's what Elderescence is, how do I grow it? How do, I'm starting for a tiny seed, a little acorn, and how do I grow it? Because at 62, with a channel for mature people, I fully expect this channel in 20 years to be thriving and exciting. In whichever way, the business of it takes me, be that, as a production company, be that as a freelance streaming company, whatever it is, wherever the business opportunities take me, that's where I'm going. And you have to, I guess, give up something to become well, of course, by definition, becoming it's a bit like I'm watching the election. I was up very late last night, and then I woke up 3 times to turn the telly on and see how we were doing. It's crazy. And then I was up at before 6, telly on, I mean, as soon as the exit poll came in last night, it was done deal, really. Labour was going to get in. And that felt really good. So I kind of knew, but you still want to know, because as a business person, the aspect of governance, who's governing your country, who's going to be in control of the business elements of the country, are really important, really, really important. And we've been through so much austerity, and, the Conservative Party gave all this money during lockdown, sort of bribed people to stay in, and now we're paying for it because there were billions that was given away, and then billions that was spent on equipment that was unnecessary, that was thrown away, and all of this stuff. And that's really impacted, was it 2022, was it COVID? I can't remember. So it's still impacting. 2020, wasn't it? I think. And so it's still impacting us as business people. It's still causing us a lot of difficulty. And then we had Brexit, and we had all these, these things. So it's really important who the government is. What are they going to do for me? What are they going to do for older people? This podcast is, especially for people my age and older. What matters to us, So all of these things. How is my life going to be? I mean, when I was 20, I thought at 60 I'd be retired. I mean, it's incredible to think that now it's 67, and that, is it going to go up to 80? I mean, I want to create a wonderful business opportunity for myself as a mature woman, as somebody who's aging, in a modern world with all the technology at my disposal. I want to be a bit, I suppose, trailblazing, really, because it's not really trailblazing, is it? Because everybody now at 60 feels young. I don't think any 60-year-old would say, oh, I feel really old. I just don't. I feel really, really young, because I mean, the knock-on effect of not being able to retire is that you're sort of forced to think in ways that you find yourself, that you can make yourself useful. And writing books for me and making music are just part of that. But there's something else I want to build, something bigger with Elderescence, a concept of, the value, that we're incredibly valuable. And it's cheesy to say wisdom, isn't it? Listen to Granny, she's wise. It's a bit cheesy. Because actually some old people just aren't wise. And with a moving climate of, technology and invention, with it's so fast moving. It's much more like a fast train than a sedentary stroll. If you're not keeping up with it day in, day out, your wisdom is not quite as relevant as it would be. And I think this idea of bringing modernism into tradition, which goes so deeply into all of my podcasts, all of my content, even my music creation, how I might, because I'm classically trained, and how I might use a Bach influence or a Mozart influence but do something new with it, new with the technology, and something a bit groundbreaking. That's how you stay relevant. You use your wisdom and your experiences, but you modernize them. Otherwise, I mean, A, no one's going to listen, and B, you're just going to be in a sort of self-satisfied soup of nostalgia. And that just how it's like that old echo chamber, isn't it? If you're an older person and you're sitting in a group of older people, you can all talk about I mean, I'm sort of thinking my mum, her age group, and the people that live around her, her neighbours, the things that they talk about. And I think that's fine. And I think if you're happy talking about, the war and ration books, or, how, it wasn't like that in my day, if that's what you're discussing, I haven't got a problem with that. But how do you incorporate that, nostalgia, that sort of self-massage, emotional massage? We were better. How do you make that relevant? Well, you can't really. You can't keep saying to people, "Oh, it was better in my day," because it's not true anyway. You were just better at it in your day. You were better at navigation, and becoming modern. And it means that you have to navigate modernity in modern situations and a new status quo. And that is difficult if you're indoors all the time, if you're not connected to the internet, if you're, watching reruns of old TV shows and never leaving the house. I mean, all of those things. I mean, it's just, not what I want to do, and not what I want Elderescence to be all about. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. I've thought about it really hard and where I want to go. And I mean, I always feel like, again, because we've had an election, I feel like writing a manifesto. Shall I write a manifesto? It'd be quite fun, wouldn't it? The stipulations of how to lead the perfect third semester of life, and to really, I mean, I've got loads of plans, not only to be happy. I mean, obviously happiness is the tip, but what will make me happy is a successful business, launching something, getting books published, all these things. They're really important in my happy scenario, the happy tree. The star at the top is happiness, but just coming below are business and family and, all these other things. And I certainly don't want to be poor. And I think so many older people, the reason they really struggle is because they don't have the money to do luxurious things. And when I say luxurious things, what I mean is the ability to, have a car that takes you places, or a driver that, whether you're paying, to pay for it, because it's too expensive to have a home with people who look after it for you because you're a bit infirm, a cleaner, all of these things. And I'm not talking about people like me who are very, very fit and younger. I'm talking about, when you get to 85, and when you get to 90, have you got help? And that takes money and insurances and all of these things. So we'll be focusing on that. And who knows, I might go into, an offshoot, which could be some kind of, I might end up being an insurance broker. I mean, you can't tell, can you? I might run a cleaning company. You don't know where this is going to go. But for today, it's a podcast. And tomorrow, it's the world.